if you're the W-2 family, your kids are most likely going to be W-2 kids, right? If your family, your parents, one or the other is an entrepreneur, and I'm a lifelong entrepreneur, I think we want that for our kids because we realize that time freedom is more valuable than the money itself. At least it is for me. It's funny, we just made a joke because I just made a tea time for Monday morning, and most people go do what Monday mornings? They go to their JOBs, right? So, I mean, that's just the flexibility that I afford myself. That doesn't mean that you guys don't know that I work on Sundays and Saturdays, right? So that's just the life of an entrepreneur. You can do 27 days straight and then take 2 days off. It's just, it's a different life, and it's not for everyone, for sure.
And with that said, Kevin, I want to bring up a quick point because I think a lot of your listeners, and this was me years ago, where, if you are raised in a family that we'll use the term W-2, where they're an employee of a business, you're right. I mean, chances are that the parents or whoever's raising them will, teach their kids, go to school. When I was 18, my dad said, go to school, become a doctor or a lawyer. Why? Because you're going to be fine in life, but it only takes one person in your family to change that generational path. And what I mean by that is, I can look at all of my immediate family, all of my extended family, and, if everybody has the same belief system, okay, that doesn't mean I have to. And for the people that are listening, it's the same with you as well. Just because it only takes that one person to change their mindset, and, to look at other people or to read, books that were written by other people that have the results that they're looking for. Because once you start reading enough books or listening to enough podcasts, you start to notice patterns. You start to notice patterns of the way people think, the way people act, not just with their time, but also with their money as well. Agreed. There's,
I think a lot of kids, and I always use the term kids because I'm getting so freaking old here, but, in their 20s or whatever, and they're trying to figure it out, right? And mom and dad want them to go be XYZ, the doctor, the attorney. And you and I both know, I know plenty of doctors and attorneys that don't have no money. So it's not the all path for everyone. So it's just like you said, it's just whatever path you decide. You've got to give it your all. I'd like to call things front end loaded. Most things are very front end loaded, meaning you got to put a lot of work in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then you'll see the fruits of your labor come in later. And if you choose a path, that some fruits are bigger than others, right?
And Kevin, it doesn't have to be, this conversation that we're having doesn't have to be geared towards the 20-year-olds either. I mean, no. This, I think, what we're talking about here today is just geared towards anybody who's sick and tired of being sick and tired of, doing the same thing, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out, and having the same result. It's never too early, I don't believe, and it's never too late, to do something to make a change. And change is always uncomfortable, always. And I'm a big believer that the only reason that people are reluctant to make any kinds of changes, whether it's personally or professionally, is fear-based. And, I read once or heard once or multiple times that fear is an acronym for false evidence appearing real. And what I mean by that is, in your mind, you paint this picture. And there's a great book I read that talks about the fear of failure and how to overcome that. And I think that's the number one thing, because people are always worried when they're, you can interview 1,000 people and they'll all probably tell you, I've always dreamed of doing this. I've always wanted to do this. This has always been my passion, my dream. And you ask them, why don't you do that? And they say, oh, I don't have the time, or I don't have the money, or, but I don't think those are real reasons. I think everybody can find the time. They can raise money, okay, if they knew how to do it. Right. And understanding that, when you start to make these changes and you start to think differently, you start noticing again that entrepreneurs, they understand that the path to success is not a smooth paved flat road. I mean, it's full of hills, peaks, valleys. but if you understand that going into it, then I think you're going to be a lot stronger mentally and be a lot more prepared.
Well, I think there's two words that really stick out really large for me for what you were just explaining there, which one is belief, the belief system, and two, fear, right? Because when people believe whatever it is you believe in, it can be very difficult for people to change their belief systems. I mean, you could just take religion, for instance, right? Once you decide to become whatever religion that you're believing in, you're not going to let it go, and that's fine. And there's no right or wrong here, everybody. It's just belief systems are very hard to break. And then fear, right? Fear of unknown. It's just getting comfortable being uncomfortable is what you got to get to. But I try to teach my kids failure is a good thing because failures are learning stepping stones, right? And you can't learn without failures, really. You can try to learn through other people's failures, which I've always personally, that's what I've tried to do my whole life, but we all still have failures, right? And you've got to learn from them.
Absolutely.
So to have a belief system, if you're raised in a type of family that says, don't step out of your comfort zone, stay in your lane kind of thing, that could hold you back. You could be someone that just has some sort of belief since you were a little kid that you wanted to do, but everybody's told you not to do it.
Absolutely. And, again, just referencing back to things I've heard and I've read, and I'll say that a lot throughout this podcast, but, like technology companies, I lived 17 years in the San Francisco Bay Area, and knowing a lot of people in technology, when somebody's launching a startup, and it doesn't have to be technology, it can be any new startup company in any industry, they expect failure. They know it. So, for example, if you're building a software platform, it's not going to be perfect day one. They know that they're going to need to adjust it and make modifications and recode it and things like that. And something that a lot of entrepreneurs realize is that when you have those failures, whether they're small or some can be significant, okay? And when you have those, you have two choices. You can either allow those failures to paralyze you mentally, okay, where you don't want to go forward because the fear kicks in, or you can allow those failures, whether they're small or large, to mobilize you. And what I mean by that is look at that situation and say, okay, this is what we have, and some entrepreneurs, plan certain failures, right? They say, okay, well, when we launch this business, these are the things that potentially could happen or could go wrong. And then, if they do happen, how do we overcome those? And so by taking themselves through this mental planning, and sometimes in their business plans, they'll put they'll even put, it's called a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. And when they identify threats before, they even start their business, then if it comes up, it's really not as big of a deal as it might have been to somebody who didn't plan for that or who didn't maybe forecast that.
I think we can take those business that you describe parallels in life, right? And just as you're going through life, and again, I don't care 20, 30, 50, whatever old you are, if things haven't been working out, don't just keep pounding your head against the same deal. It's okay to change. It's okay to fail. It's okay to start again. And I really think in today's world, this is 2020, technology is unbelievable. The opportunities that the kids have today compared to when you or I are in our 20s or times 100. Man, I saw a kid on YouTube the other day, 22 years old, making $300,000 a month because he's a good artist, right? But mainly because they started following him on YouTube. He's got 30 million followers, right? Yeah. And capitalizing on how YouTube works. That's just, amazing. But he spends everything he makes. He blatantly will tell you, I spend it. I spend it all. I don't save anything. Wow. I don't invest. I make $300,000 a month. I spend $400 because I know, so nobody's taught this guy yet, anything about money and like, hey, this may not last forever. You probably should put some away, right? But we both have kids. Mine are grown and gone. You're still in the middle of raising. So, I know that I've learned that they look and they watch us, and being an entrepreneur is an awesome thing. But again, it's not for everyone. But I think can set a mindset of tradition. Like I'm supposed to be the entrepreneur or I'm supposed to be a W-2 earner. And again, two different paths. Neither one's right or wrong. It's just what your path may be. What do you think is more motivating to people money wise? Why does money motivate people to do things?
That's a good question. I mean, and I think it's different for everybody. Some people are motivated by material possessions. I think for me, that was a motivator early on in my career because I didn't really have material possessions growing up. And I thought those things would make me happy until I started to acquire them and then realized they don't. Okay. I think some people are motivated by money for their ego, where they want to be recognized by their peers, by their family, as quote, being successful. And then I think other people, money motivates them, to build a legacy, create a legacy, and have a legacy that and not just necessarily to leave their kids or grandkids or nieces, nephews when they're gone, but also from a philanthropic standpoint, people being able to give back to organizations that are very dear to them. A lot of people have, I've talked to thousands of people in my life and my career, and I've asked a lot of people, if you had more time and more money, what would you do to give back? And you know what? You always see people look off a little bit because they're recalling something that's very personal to them. And everybody has something that is, that they would love to do more for. And so, and then, for other people, I think they're motivated by money for that time freedom. They want to spend more time with their friends. They want to spend more time with their loved ones. They want to spend more time volunteering. And they want to spend more time seeing this beautiful world.
That's an interesting look at it. I kind of look at it another way that people can look at money. Money's a tool, right? Mm-hmm. And to me, money, all it does for me is give me options. Mm-hmm. That's it, right? What are my options? Depending the amount of money I want, or if there's a goal that I need to achieve and it's going to take $X, that's just another option. I like to, if I keep it that mindset of money, mm-hmm. then it's not a $5 or a $20 or $100 bill or $1,000. It's just something I'm striving for, and I don't get emotionally caught up in it.
Right.
It's just a tool, right? Which for me works well. That's why I golf so much. But we have to use that tool and leverage that tool for investing. Let's go down the road of investing.
Absolutely. I'd love to.
Your kids are young. Have you talked to them about investing?
Absolutely.
Why did you talk to them, and how old were they?
I'll give you an example. And I've been talking to them about this as far as I can remember, literally, because I don't think there's such thing as too young.
I agree.
Also, contrary to what a lot of people might think or believe, I grew up in an environment where we don't talk about money. We don't talk about what we make. We don't talk about what we invest in. We don't talk about any of that.
Why is that? There's a lot of people that are like that. Mm-hmm. It can be a very taboo conversation with people. Yeah. Like, why are you invading in my privacy? Yeah. It's almost, sometimes I compare it to like, we don't talk about sex and we don't talk about money, right? Back up. Don't talk to me about that stuff. And I think with our kids, we need to be talking about both of those things because they're very important things in our lives. But
absolutely. I think for some people, like myself included, sometimes I don't like to talk about money with certain friends or family because I know they're just going to hit me up for some. No, I'm joking, but I'm not sure why. I don't know. I think that's something that's maybe changing because, with the advancement of technology and things, I think people are just being overall more transparent, with each other and with their lives. And if you're genuinely serious about making any kind of change, I don't care what it is, whether it's your health, your wellness, your finances, your career, the more transparent and open you can be, it gives someone a better opportunity to help you. I can't help you if I don't know what your situation looks like. And so, when it comes to my kids, yes, I've been absolutely teaching them, to different principles around money, around finance. I'm a huge advocate of getting kids, if they can earn money, whether it's through your business or on their own, and they can set up, for example, a Roth IRA, which I believe the contributions have gone up to $6,500 a year, but that's an after-tax contribution. But the beauty of that is that there's something called the compound effect in the rule of 72. And, you know, I don't know what the actual number is, but I would guess that most people don't start planning for their retirement until they're in their 30s or maybe even late 30s, 40s, and maybe some even later.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. If you want to watch the whole podcast episode, then go ahead and click right here. Okay? Do me a favor. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you want to hit the notification bell, you'll get notified every time we release a new video out for you, whether it's a clip or the whole podcast. So hope you get a lot of value, and I'll see you guys on the next one.